Dan, how's it going?
Sam the man. How are you, man?
I'm good. I'm good. Excited to have you on. I think um, a few things definitely want to dive in with you. But first, I want to give the listeners more of the background on yourself in terms of, how you get started, what you're working on today.
Yep. So, founder at UGC Factory. We're one of the largest performance video creative agencies in the US. We work with over 100 D2C brands. Um, Volumes our game. I mean, we've really dialed in and atomized the creative process. And AI is having a huge, influence in how the whole creative game is changing. So we're constantly testing out and stress testing, how we can leverage these tools and apply new techniques to give our clients the edge in the space. So that's what I'm working on today. My background is mostly in the media world. The last 15 years, I've hopped around, done Periscope influencer marketing way back when, and crypto marketing, augmented reality marketing, and now two-dimensional vertical video.
Yeah, and your background, like you're a builder, right? It seems like you built a lot of things. And on your end, like how has that shifted in terms of just one building, but two, just capturing audiences? I feel like that changes so much in terms of all the marketing type stuff you've been working on. So like what's really shifted from, the last 10 years or so to now in terms of how people are capturing audiences different ways and ways people are leveraging AI to go do so.
I mean, it's social. It actually is social now. Whereas 10 years ago, social was like a buzzword and things were, starting to move there. But elections have been decided now based on social media, right? We now know social media is probably one of the most influential platforms out there, and I think the cost of advertising is now starting to reflect that. Um, so we're seeing obviously heavy on social, especially with the younger generations. They're cooked. Their attention spans are cooked, man. Um, so obviously now, you know, we're seeing almost we're hitting the limits and saturation of how much content a human being can consume. It's like
Sure.
the big crisis. We're in the attention crisis right now, right? Like everybody is attention poor, right? And everybody's they're in attention deficits. There's no such thing as ADHD. That's pharmaceutical bullshit, right? It's just people are just not investing their attention correctly. That's why they're fucking broke, right? Their attention broke. So now you got society is attention broke. And where we go from here has a lot to do with, I think ultimately fucking parenting. Um, but it's interesting because now we're seeing again the prices of social media advertising has risen, right? The competition for organic is super cutthroat, and that's why people are looking at all these different, does AI give me the edge? What if I created 200 new videos a day and posted them across, 20 different TikTok pages? Yeah, that's kind of now the game. It's like, how do we try to, get into somebody's psyche, into the mind of a consumer? So, creative variation and creative testing and trying out different things, that still is the play, in my opinion. But I think that's slowly going to change, or no, rather, that's quickly going to change. Um, and that inflection point is going to be the exponential growth curve of content through AI tools, where we're gonna reach this inflection point where it's no longer more stuff means you win. Because right now it really is more good stuff you win. But 5 years from now, that's not going to be the case anymore. And a lot of people haven't realized, like, I mean, let that sink in. The game, the way to win the game is not going to be create more good stuff in 5 years, right? Just because the ability to use these tools to clone yourself and have AI agents rip new scripts constantly, that will be here in 5 years. And so that means ultimately unlimited amount of content potential, right? depending on the cost of, leveraging the AI platform, right? So it's gonna mean it's gonna be hard. I can't even really wrap my head around it yet, but I think it's gonna be more about authenticity. I think authenticity is gonna really come through more than ever. And that circles back to what the fuck UGC actually is. UGC actually, when it fucking started, was user generated content. I meant users of the product or service organically, right, on their own will, would say, "Hey, I just want to give a shout out to Sam. Sam, Sam, is hosting is an awesome host on this podcast, and he was such a great shit. That's a really great question. So if you want to go on Sam's podcast, I'd highly recommend it. That's real UGC. Most of the UGC, I mean, literally, we don't do any of that shit at UGC Factory. UGC Factory, it's CGC. You're paying creators to say something, and the goal is to align it with people that like generally like would enjoy the product. And in fact, we really try to find that fit. Like, hey, who actually uses this product? And there's sometimes we'll get a lot of good alignment there. Those are great opportunities to do that. But smaller brands, that's much harder to do. Most people that like are doing this stuff that are not like creators are actually going to produce stuff that's garbage. You can't really use that. And then there's the whole AI thing. I mean, before we hopped on, I'm working with this face swap desktop tool, which literally you take a video, target video, and you upload a source photo. So you upload a source photo of you, Sam, on a source video, and all of a sudden it's it looks like that you're the one in the video, right? I mean that's kind of where we're at right now with like likeness and the ability to use likeness. It's kind of crazy. Like you could just rent somebody's likeness and give them a
So
retainer.
it really is wild too, like how much that's changed already. And I feel like we're just kind of seeing the tip of it and like how much will go change. So for the people who are doing well right now, right? People who are still going viral, people who are still getting views to actually convert, what are you seeing them do? What are you seeing, companies like yourself do for the ones that truly hit, right? I'm sure you have a lot of stuff that does can well pretty consistent, but the ones that truly go viral, like what separates that?
They have systems. They have a systematic way to approaching the content process, right? Um, and you've got no. I would say that that's the answer, right? I mean, yes, you've got your high, your fine art, and there's some artists that I follow, and they do exhibits like maybe one every year or 2 years, right? And you don't see anything that they do, right, until they're showcasing their work.
Sure.
um those artists exist in this world, and they probably will continue to exist, but that's on the furthest end of the spectrum. I think what we're seeing is the majority of the spectrum, right, in terms of the curve, the bell curve, is people that are posting a lot of content, right? Like a significant amount of content. And the reality is the algorithms, you never know what's going to work. Sometimes I think the worst piece of content we've produced for a brand is actually the highest performer. Um, that's the differentiator. So it's being able to say, have a systematic approach so that you as a creator, whatever it is that you're doing, you're a business owner, you're actually a true creator and trying to monetize your highest value activity is maximized because all the other stuff we've created systems to offload, whether
So what?
it's ideation or scripting or editing or posting, etc.
So think of someone, maybe it's even your system internally, right? For someone who's like super dialed in, right? They're pumping out a lot of content, right, across a lot of different channels, right? And they have a good audience. What does that system look like for them? Like kind of break it down of for someone who maybe just is starting out, right? Because I kind of view the systems in different tiers.
Yeah.
You have the people who are spending, like the Hermosi, 7 figures a year on their systems. You have people who are super scrappy and starting, and then a nice middle ground, So if you take that person who's just starting out building content, like what kind of system would you see potentially work for someone who can do it quick, efficiently, and before that cost barrier becomes exponentially higher for the next level up?
Well, I'll give you the example I helped my friend with last week. So he just took 5-MeO DMT for the first time, had a God download. And now he wants to start a nonprofit organization creating higher awareness for the positive impact that AI can create in the world. I'm like, you know what? That's fucking great. Yeah, we need less Black Mirror, fucking, Skynet, fear mongering shit, like how computer open the fucking pod bay doors. And we need
Sure.
more positive narrative around all the positive impact and utopian outcomes that potentially could happen. So I was like, all right, dude, like let me help you around this. Sounds like there's not a lot of money involved at the beginning. So let me do this for free. So for him, it's a thought leadership piece. I think for a lot of folks, thought leadership is a big piece of the content game. Not everybody's good on camera like he happens to be. But if you're good on camera and you can talk the talk and you can rip off the dome. Let me assume that that's, if you're
Sure. Yeah.
watching or listening, that's who you are. Well, then guess what? You maximize around that. Again, you want to lean into that strength. That is the highest value thing you could be doing. So for him, it's getting on podcasts like this, right? Which is why, willingly accepted the offer. It's a no-brainer. It's like this for me, it's like my ability to have this conversation with you is going to result in a great piece of long form content. So okay, now you got your long form content. Great. Now we start stripping it down. Right. We say, okay, now we got all the short form content clips. You got a good editor. Boom. They understand how to timestamp really well. Great. Now you can optimize that for all the short form platforms. Then take the transcript, run that through chat with the right prompts. Okay, cool. I want 5 Twitter threads. I want 5 lead magnets, right? What are 5 resources that I could build based on this conversation that would work well as lead magnets that I could distribute on LinkedIn and Twitter X? I also need, just give me some fucking, I don't know, some fucking, picture quote memes, right? If I said anything, offensive or particularly poignant, let's grab that, throw it against a funny a funny juxtaposition of a background and call that a meme. There's all these different things then you could do with the text, the words, right? That work well with text-based media. So look, all of these will have its own workflow depending on what vertical and what audience you're trying to reach, right? Memes might work really well for certain types of audiences, whereas others would look at that and say, this is lowbrow. And it would actually have the exact opposite intention. So I think in workflow perspective, it's like have more conversations. It's like what you're doing. Like I'm fucking preaching to the choir right now, probably, right? Because you're by having sitting here listening very intently. I don't know what you're doing over there. Are you betting? Are you playing you playing hands over here on
Yeah, we have a
casinos?
whole online game of poker behind you.
This is what I'm saying, because Miami, right? The laws there are definitely more lax. So
Austin's not too far off.
I'm not, yes and no, yes and no. We're catching up. You know, there's a lot of things here that should be legal that aren't, and vice versa. Anywho, anywho,
But yeah, I mean, you're spot on. Like a lot of those things too is just get yourself in more situations that you can go create content from. Like I
yeah,
think what I found on my end, and we're kind of just starting that content journey ourselves, is just go talk about things you're doing and go get live footage of yourself having organic conversations on topics that are relevant to people that they're thinking about. Like that's really it.
100%, 100%.
Like
Yeah, and then the other thing, I talked about this in a speech I gave a couple weeks ago. It's like, you know, the other thing is like there's this thing about alpha, right? Like information that information that could be had that people are not going to talk about on unrecorded media
Sure.
that's meant to be distributed widely, right? And that's the stuff that, ultimately, that's where the in-person stuff comes in. That's like why you go, to events in person and meetups and, make the connections that you can, create this content together. So I think that's something I would also look at. It's like, yeah, there's workflows and yeah, we connected digitally, right? We're in the same community, right? That we both paid to join.
Sure.
Those are great, right? Those are like no brainers. Like I just joined another community uh this week, fucking on Monday. I got accepted. Um, $5,000 lifetime. I'm like, that's a no brainer.
What was the intent behind it?
Well, it's essentially leveraging what I'm trying to get at here is the ability to build IRL social capital with people that actually know what the fuck is going on and realizing that people that actually know how to do shit are not just talking about it all on fucking recorded videos like this, right? Like you give something, but you don't give your best stuff away. Not not freely and publishing it to the internet. This is the dark social stuff, right? This is the
Sure.
stuff where it's like if you're in the right communities, if you meet the right people, right? And become homies with the right folks IRL, I think that's, what I've kind of realized like in this game. It's like um that's the highest level of education, right? And and to a certain extent, if you're producing content, you're giving away some of that info that people are probably going to want to get closer to you, right? And people are going to assume that you have that information. And this is where all the fucking course creators and would be gurus. I think anybody selling a fucking course. Are you selling a course, by the way? Before I say this,
We have a community, not a course. Yeah.
okay, good. Because fuck these course people, man. Anybody who's selling a course, I look the other way. Like I'm like there's more like more times than not. I can't remember the last person who is selling a course that wasn't like partially or completely full of shit. And you know what I mean? But the community aspect, right? It's like you're front loading the information, and you're obviously there's a pay gate into digital slash maybe IRL component where more of that is shared. But that's why I like the paid community model because it kind of like you get past the transactional piece and then it's like cool. Now depending on the community you're in, some communities are better at it than others. Like Hampton, I think is very good about this.
Yeah.
Do not do transactions now, right? Like everything should be no solicitation, like
Correct.
like give first. And I think those are the best types of communities. And I think that's why it's powerful, right? To find people that are kind of also like in that state of mind versus, the real world, man. I mean, shit, if you're in the service business, it's fucking be
Well,
fucking brutal out there, man. People that
it's
are,
also yeah. I was saying it's also a nice entry point too because it weeds a lot of people out, right? It gives you access to that room of people where there are a lot of people like you go ping on a Slack channel, you're getting a response, or do you email them, you cold outreach them too. There's no response there. So part of it too is just access. And part of it too is just being around people who are all looking to accomplish something similar to yourself, even if in like really different ways. Right. So we see a ton of that in our community too, where more partnerships are created, right? People do deals together. So you see a lot of that access in terms, whether it be vendors, partners, right? All those things are huge in a more, I wouldn't even call it safe environment, but more like accessible environment that has a level of moderation to it.
100%. And to a certain extent, it's needed, right? It's actually a really great service to be a community leader, to be somebody who is, you know, organizing and curating, but also facilitating like that stuff to happen. facilitation through rule setting, right, and culture building. I'm a huge proponent of community for that reason.
Yeah, it's also just tough to curate too, because if you look at it, right, essentially it's two businesses racked in one that are extremely different, right? One is the whole go to market side of it, right, in terms of curating the sales marketing function. And the other is curating a really good experience to go help members. That's what they, want to accomplish by joining, whether it be connections, access, information, deal flow, like whatever it may be, of like curating that environment where they can go reach those goals, but also curating an environment that you can go grow as a business, right? I think in a lot of ways, there are always two separate businesses that are entirely wrapped up together in one.
What is your community? Let's talk about that. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
what do you guys do?
we actually pivoted recently. So originally we started on how do you actually raise money, right? So we had a lot of people in the
Yes.
private equity, real estate space, right? Fund managers who were either active operators looking to operate, and their gap they had was we have deal flow and we don't have cash to buy those deals, right? So how can we go get better at finding partners, right? Learn the mechanics how to go raise money so we can actually go accomplish more deals, right? So that was a big lever of it.
Yes.
In turn, we found was that we nailed that piece really well. I mean, a lot of people were like, okay, hey, I want to leave my corporate job, right? I'm a mid six figure person in tech, mid six figure person in a corporate role, and I absolutely hate having a boss going forward. So in turn, like I want to go have ownership of things myself, right? And a
Yes.
lot of people, one of the quickest ways to do that is to go buy a company, is to go buy certain parts of real estate and build up income to get to the point where, like, okay, if my burn is 15K a month, I cover my 15K a month in terms of cash flow from owning a company, from being a fund manager, owning real estate. I have that flexibility now. I can go figure out what I want to go do when I grow up, right? So a lot of it's curated around how to help people go replace their income in the corporate, right, through cash flow and ownership. So we have a lot of people who
Yes.
are, buying SMBs, people who are buying real estate, people who are raising capital. So nice blend and a lot of like good deal flow from there as well, good connections, a lot of cool partnerships created there as well. So I'd say really
Yes.
kind of shifting towards the, you know, corporate breakaway type piece of it because I started out in corporate versus entrepreneurship, and that
Sure.
break for me was just when life got a lot more fun and exciting.
Yeah, man. Same. And by more fun and exciting for me at least was way more stressful at times. And
Correct.
yeah, you know what I mean? But yeah, you're definitely more alive versus what could at times feel like a cog in the machine and kind of disconnected from your destiny. Um, hey, look, there's company men and company women, and not necessarily, knocking on that. Some people like it.
Yeah, there's a
But
value in being able to go show up every day and they're like, hey, do these things, we'll pay you this much, and you're good. Right? As
yeah,
an entrepreneur, it's like, do these things, do all these things, put your real money into this project, and you may make money, you may also lose a lot of money too. And that's a
yeah,
big thing that, it's not that even keel, right? Up and to the right. It's a lot of up and down and up and down and up and down. But for those people who are built for that and want that, going back to something else that's more stable would destroy them.
yeah. Or it depends on your stage of life or circumstances, right? Like, I'm 37. Wait, hold on. Are you drinking the fucking viral water? Is that what I
Yeah.
saw?
This is the only one they
Oh,
deliver now.
sure.
They used to have the Mountain Valleys and Whole Foods stopped delivering them. But yeah, this
No.
brand went absolute viral with it.
Hmm. Yeah, I still get the Mountain Valley delivered here in Austin. Um, Fortunately, they haven't done that, but um, where should we go with this? I mean,
So I think a good point you made early on too to go back to it was like you look at kids in the attention economy, right? And
yeah,
they just can't focus. In turn, they're medicated, right? They're labeled as all these things when they just don't have an attention span because of all these things in front of them. Like, how do you think about, you know, whether it be in the parenting side of it, if you have kids, or just in terms of like youth in general, of how to go leverage, right, all these advances in technology and what's going on around you to benefit rather than staying sucked into it and overly consuming.
you think it all, so the only people tell me I have ADHD, um, which again, I don't, I think about that term. I think it's completely bullshit. I think, the pharmaceutical industry created this. I think everybody's different, right? And like for me, I'm very good at context switching and holding a lot of information at once,
Sure.
right? Right. And so that's a gift that for whatever fucking reason right now, actually, I think is given more value than some of the gifts of being able to just focus on one thing. I mean, I think again, at the opposite ends of the spectrum, I think there's, great examples of both. But I think in general society, we're rewarding more of that. Um, but in regards to, I think keeping yourself balanced, right? It's like I think it's finding how you can lean into your who you are, right? Like I don't think anybody's fucking meant at a young age to be sitting in rows in a classroom. And I think that model, the whole education model is being disrupted. The Alpha School, I'm not sure if you've heard of that one.
Mm.
It's like a primary school. It's like fucking $40,000 a year for like kindergarten, right? Through like, I think, up until middle school. But their whole thing is like, we'll teach you for like, 4 hours in a day, and then the rest is like building your other skills like public speaking or AI or coding, right? Like these other things that like you might have a proclivity to. Um, so I guess in a way, it's like I think how we learn and how we raise the next generation. I think it starts there. Um, I think it's much harder to change your ways the older you get, right? The more you're programmed. So I know for myself, I'm 37. My parents did not allow television in our home.
Sure.
Like we watched movies. Like we didn't even know television was a fucking thing until, we were in school, and then, I was asking, "Oh, did you watch the show?" I don't know what a show was. Right. So we were blocked from advertising during that age. And I think that was a benefit, right? I think for me, like my relationship with television, even to this day, I don't watch TV shows, right? I'll watch a movie, right? Longer format media, which, again, like stands in stark contrast to, these, 10-second, 15-second bite-sized pieces of content. So, I think, if that's how you're training, it's training, right? It's like, what are you doing to train your attention? Um, I love to watch sports. That's actually something I've had a very mixed relationship with sports for a while. I played college football,
What do you mostly watch
uh,
now?
NBA.
Same here.
Fast forward through all the commercials, right? Like, but I'll watch continuous play, um, which, or I'll even do that for football, but fuck, there's a lot of fucking fast forwarding.
Yeah.
Um, but just trying to focus on one thing. I mean, I think that's part of the training, right? That I think I don't know if kids are getting that. I mean, I donated some time last year to teaching kids at a local high school here in Austin. It was that they had an entrepreneurship project for their senior class. And it's like, man, like I feel sorry for the teachers because you like holding their attention for more than 5 to 10 seconds is
Yeah.
a fucking lift. Like you have to like they have to be entertainers up there, right? And it's very energy draining. So, and at the same time, I don't necessarily blame the kids. I mean, I'm sure the kids are just like going through the motions all day. So I think something has to change fundamentally in our education, the way we do education in this country. I mean, look at the history of our education system. It's all based on the factory model, right?
Yeah. And
This, yeah,
yeah, and it's interesting too. Like to give an example, I have a guy in my community, former optometrist, sold his community in private equity. Now he's a fund manager, and for him, he has One of his kids just graduated high school, and instead of going to college, they bought an e-com store together, right, to go
Nice.
operate that instead, right? And I think you're just seeing that in terms of the pivot of like this school system is broken. If you look at it from purely a financial standpoint, like college for me, I played baseball there as well too. Like it was a blast, right? It was a great 4 years. Financially, right, dollar in, dollar out opportunity cost wise, was that invest like a good investment? Probably not, right? But I have some good friends I made from there. Like there's a lot of value I got from it. But in terms of pure dollar wise, no. When you look at the like teachers too, right? You have teachers kind of fall into two camps, right? Those who teach because they couldn't do, and those who go and teach because they've done and want to go give back and love teaching, right?
Sure.
And the sad part is that 99% of teachers fall into the former versus the latter, right? In
Yeah.
terms of that role itself.
Yeah. The only thing I'll say, I mean, about college, which again, I don't think is even the best vehicle to achieve this, is social skill development. It's
Yeah.
removing yourself from the home and putting yourselves, in a living situation, a cohabitating situation with your peers, which I think that's invaluable. But again, I don't necessarily think college is the best expression of that. I mean, I was in Colombia a couple months ago, and I was kind of rolling with this group of kids. I mean, they're fucking kids, man. Like 18, 18 to 22. Um, all of them were college dropouts. One of them was still in college, but it was just for kicks. I mean, he's running four companies. One they already raised $1 million for. I'm like, why are you going? Like, why are you even continuing? He's like, I just something to do. But these guys just travel around the world and they rent Airbnbs together, and they're kind of growing their network IRL. And it's like, that's interesting, right? That is a very interesting way to build your social skills in a very healthy, positive way. Whereas I feel like the social skills in most schools, I mean, there's a lot of bullying. I mean, the fucking,
Sure.
the cyberbullying that's going on now is, I couldn't even imagine like growing up with that shit. And I feel sorry for a lot of the kids, right, that are targets of that. But that's not positive. In fact, that's fucking traumatizing. And a lot of kids are exposed to that. So it's like, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way of building intellectual and emotional intelligence other than, the current solutions. And I can't necessarily, you can't blame the kids. The kids are just practicing escapism, right? The fucking video games, social media, pornography, right? Like they're just looking to kind of escape the fucking prison. They're literally in prisons. Schools are fucking prisons, dude. You ever been to a school recently? Fucking, you got security guards with fucking guns and fucking metal detectors.
Yeah. Teach a bunch of
Fucking,
stuff that's not actually practical in any way.
yeah. You have to fucking go, right? Like
It was
you
you have
have
to
to
go and you
fucking do
have
your
to go
time.
show all your work. I remember that was always a fight I had in math growing up. It's that the right answer doesn't matter. It's you to go show all your work as to how you got to these things, how you figured them out, and
Mhm.
they would go just penalize you for every single thing. And it's interesting, like so much of, for me, like I struggled really badly in high school, right? I think I had a 1.9 GPA through sophomore, like a 2.0 graduating high school. And because it was so heavily weighted on, do you
Yeah,
go to class? Do you do the work, right? All those things that in a lot of areas of life don't matter. It's performance based, right? And then you go to college, we're like, okay, this is at least more based off of, heavily weighted
merit.
to how do you actually score, right? Like, how do you score on things versus just do you go do your work? I think that's what a lot of the education system pushed you to, right? To like you're saying, like the factory worker, show up, do your hours, do your time, go clock in, go clock out. I'm like, don't go break that chain of what we want you in, right? Those kind of really tight guardrails.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, and now it's like I think the society we're moving into is, the people, the richest people in the world are the rule breakers, right? They're the ones that are trying to break out of conformity and trying to be creative, right?
When
Something
you look
I
at
yeah.
Yeah, I was saying like if you look at the old saying too, like, you know, all the C students in high school or middle school, like whatever it is, all the A students end up going to work for them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, then there's, the rare cases where you've got, straight A students and,
For
you
sure.
know, those people are very influential too. But they end up usually going corporate, I find those folks.
Yeah, it's just a different profile too. Like the person who can go and build from scratch versus the person who can go manage a massive team. Like there are certain
Yeah.
people who, if you give them a $50 million P&L, they'll absolutely go crush it. And there are
Yeah.
people too, that same person, you put them in saying, hey, you've got 2 employees and 100K, like go get this off the ground. They
Yeah.
couldn't do a single thing. Right. So
Yeah.
what's going to pivot that to your business, right? Like what did it look like for you building your current company today, and kind of why'd you choose to build it the way you did?
I mean, look, we're always looking to streamline. I mean, we're constantly automating away tasks, right? So it's a constant. It's just a reality. It's that there's always the ability to leverage the latest tech, the latest tool to give you an edge. And so we're, I mean, look, we're potentially going to reduce our creator cost by 60% because we have a new workflow that's going to automate a lot of it. So it's going to be AI avatar for certain types of filming, right? Certain types of filming, you still need actual, like there's no way around it, right?
Sure.
It's more cost efficient to have a human being film it. But then there's other types of shots where those could be automated.
Like
So,
what? Like what type of like shot or production would make more sense to have someone in AI
I
doing it?
guess this is
Yeah,
actually all AI right now. This is not even
there you go.
Dan. This is Dan's avatar that's been trained on Dan's mind. He just uploads every single thing that he records, all his meetings.
Ah, so you
So,
got the chip.
well, no, see, I mean, this is all CG. Uh, but yeah, I mean, look, I mean, we all record Zooms and all these different fucking recorders. So, the ability to replicate intelligence is when we're right on that doorstep. So the implications of that for business is going to be massive. Where any questions that are high level, like department head stuff, could essentially be automated, where you are reducing the amount of time of back and forth within departments. Hey, like this happened. What should I do? Boom. Right. It's kind of like a living, breathing SOP. So I think that's something that we're going to see roll across. I mean, all types of organizations from startups to enterprise level.
Yeah, because that's the biggest thing too. Like I think you're seeing all these low level tasks be able to get replaced with AI. I feel like over time it just keeps working its way up and up and up the ladder to like have more of that critical thinking type piece stuff where you can go replace those department head, principal, founder type people and actually go, have it create for you. Right. That's where I think we're getting to overall.
Yeah, I think we're right there. To be honest, I mean, it's just it's just people haven't really invested time there. Like there's these AI integrators that I think now are going to become more and more important for companies to retain or at least have consult to set things up. And yeah, I think it's just going to be a huge part of how business is transformed the next 5 to 10.
Cool. And before we wrap here too, kind of what are you most excited about going forward in terms of whether it be personal or business, kind of what's most excited for you coming up?
Yeah, so I'm going into the medical space. So I'm going to be transitioning some of my time into building a B2B medical distribution company. Um, so I can't really say much beyond that, but um, there's I think tremendous growth that we haven't even seen yet with peptides, with stem cells, with all the different technology that is about to transform, I think, the whole longevity and wellness space. And um, so I'm kind of positioning myself there. Um, but obviously, keeping myself very embedded in content and how technology is changing content so that we can then continue to service our clients. Right. But hey, look, when you see a good offer, it's great to own the offer versus,
for sure.
just taking a retainer from a client.
And it's huge too. Like I think that space is going to keep blowing up. Like it's become much cooler to go take care of yourself in the last few years, which is actually really nice to go
Yeah,
see. And I think what you're seeing too is
yeah,
people who have money, they're pumping it into longevity, functionality, right? Just overall health type stuff, which is I think we're gonna see a lot of breakthroughs there too, and people go spend on it accordingly.
yeah. I mean, I think there's the price sensitivity there is much less than
There
other
isn't, yeah,
things, right? I mean, especially somebody who's who's well off. I mean, there's some people I know that spend $100,000 a month on peptides, right? Like, and these are people that look 20 years younger than they actually are at
yeah.
70, right? So, yeah, again, I think there's a lot of now, there's a more receptivity to peptides and these other longevity methods. I mean, thanks to GLP-1, I think that kind of opened the doors a lot for the conversations. And yeah, the FDA is now, I think, seriously looking at these other peptides. So yeah, I think there's a lot to come in the near future.
So in the peptide space, what are things that people should go look at, right? If they're brand new looking at this, like what types of peptides does someone go look at and kind of start dabbling in or learning about?
Yeah, I mean, this is the fun part of all this. Go get a blood test. Get a blood test. Go to, there's a lot of just online marketplaces where you can buy a cheap blood test. You don't need a fucking prescription. Just buy a blood test. Forget the doctor. You don't need a doctor. Fuck the doctors. Okay, unless you're in serious fucking emergency pain situation type shit. Get a blood test. Go to get the blood test. Get the results. Take the PDF. Upload it into ChatGPT and start asking questions. Start asking questions about how do I measure up to my peers? What percentile am I in? Right. And most doctors will look at your blood results. Say, oh, you look good. You look good, Sam. It's like, well, look, I don't want to be good. I want to be fucking amazing. I want to be the top fucking 1% of people my age. Right. So don't tell me I'm good. I'm good, aka I'm not fucking dying, or I'm not seriously at risk of having some serious issues with my health. I want to be optimized. And so most traditional doctors are not going to give you that, right? They don't they are not optimized for that type of recommendation. If you develop the right prompt and ask ChatGPT, it will tell you. I went to Turkey last month. I got my fucking brain scans. I got my CT on my chest, respiratory results, all this shit. Guess what I did? I uploaded the scans. I got the fucking videos, uploaded them into ChatGPT. Now, ChatGPT is not a radiology MD yet, but it does recognize some very important factors. It knows that I am healthy in certain ways. Right? It doesn't understand video context just yet, but it can extract still images from videos. So that's what I recommend. Right? Just start owning your data. Start taking charge of your health, and it starts with owning your data. Fuck these fucking all these Narc health and function and all. They're just upcharging you on what I just described. Go buy a blood panel for 100 fucking bucks. Get the results. Go to ChatGPT, and that's what you're going to need to get started. That's it. Like that's the thing that none of these other fucking platforms want to let you know, is that you don't need them. Not yet, at least. I haven't seen anything that compelling emerge in this space yet that would lead me to say, wow, actually, like, give your data to them. Sam the man. We'll talk soon, man.